Psalm 121. Esagen el harim, mehayin yavohezri, azrimahim Adonai, ose shamayim v'haaretz, al yiten lamot raglecha, al yanom shomrecha, Hinei lo yanom v'lo yishan, shomer Yisrael. Adonai shomerecha, Adonai tzelecha, aleyhat yeminecha. Yomam hashemesh lo yakeka, ve'yareach balayla. Adonai yishmorchem mikol ha'ra, yishmor et nafshecha. Adonai yishmor tzedka u'vahecha, me'ata ve'ad ha'olam.
I lift my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian. God is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. God will guard your soul, your going and coming, now and forever. Amen. We gather together today as the dear family and friends of Estelle Gerson. As we mourn her loss, must also celebrate the full, rich life she led. Death has taken our beloved Estelle. Friends grieve in their darkened world. In their silence there's lamentation. In their tears there's loneliness. Lost in their sorrow, may they find the presence of loving friends. Hear them, O God, and be with them. For her love that united us in life, in which death cannot sever. For her companionship which we shared along life's path, and which still continues the tenderness of memory. For the gifts of her heart and her mind, which brought us joy and happiness, and now become a precious heritage of the Spirit. For all these and more, God, we give you our praise. In his sorrow, Job cried out, Adonai natan v'nai lakach, v'hi Shem Adonai mevarach. God has given, God has taken away, but blessed be the name of God. An ancient people are well acquainted with grief and with the valley of shadows. Death and sorrow are not strangers to us, yet the centuries have taught us that good name endures beyond the grave, and there is strength in faith. With Job we say, Adonai natan, God you have given. You gave us a loved one who will not be forgotten. For it was good and enduring in her life. We offer the deepest thanks of our hearts. Proverbs 31. Eshet chayo mi yimsad rachok mibni mikra. A woman of valor who can find. She's more precious than fine pearls. Her husband trusts in her, and so he lacks nothing. She does him good, never harm, all the days of his life. She perceives that her labor is rewarding. Her candle burns on into the night. She reaches out to those in need, extends her hands to the poor. She is clothed in strength and dignity, and she faces the future cheerfully. She speaks with wisdom. The law of kindness is on her lips. Her children rise up and bless her. Her family sings her praises. Many daughters have done valiantly, but you excel them all. A poem by Kathy Zink. Take time to talk, for you may ask of all things unknown to you. Take time to laugh, for smiles relinquish sorrow and spread happiness. Take time to think, for the realm of knowledge is never ending. Take time to see, for there is beauty in every part of the world around you. Take time to feel, for the emotions of your heart often control the reasoning of your mind. Take time to live, for each day is filled with new opportunities that will be gone tomorrow. Take time to dream, for survival is forever challenging the powers of your imagination. Take time to love. The sharing of all these things is the true miracle of life. Adonai ro'i lo exar, bina desha yar b'tzemi, amen menachot yanachaleni. Please join me in the familiar words of the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters, and restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen. The Baal Shem Tov, the Hasidic Rebbe, once observed that there are 3 ways we mourn. The first is with tears, the second is with silence, and the third is with song. When we mourn someone truly beloved, we experience all 3. Tears at first, then silence as our grief settles more deeply, and finally song as we're able to celebrate the memories we hold deep in our hearts. So today may be a time for tears as we say our final goodbyes to Estelle. We'll each remember Estelle in our own way. Myron and Joanne, Cheryl and Michael. You will all remember Estelle as your beloved mother. Craig and Nancy, Linda, Jeremy and Liza, Sean and Sarah, Melissa and Adam. You all remember Estelle as your devoted grandmother. And Estelle was an adoring great-grandmother to Violet, Laurel, Max, Eva, and Luna. Throughout her life, Estelle was a caring sister and sister-in-law to Florine, William, and Howard. Estelle was born on May 28, 1924 in Paterson, New Jersey, to Abraham and Pauline Fogelman. She was the oldest of the 2 girls. Estelle's father, Abe, worked for his brother in the textile business, and they had to move around a lot when Estelle was young. After Paterson, she lived in Scranton, PA, and New Bedford, Massachusetts. Estelle went to a Girl Scout camp as a child and was very proud of it. After high school, Estelle decided to go study to be a dietitian at the University of Wisconsin. Wisconsin was far from her home, and it was unusual for a woman at her time. But it must have been Bashert, because it was at Wisconsin that Estelle met the love of her life, Jerry. He liked to tell the story of how he saw Estelle walking down the staircase and said, "I'm going to marry that girl." Estelle wasn't as sure right away, but he pursued her, and they were married at the Astor Hotel in New York on October 1st, 1944. Jerry was in the Navy and got leave from Chicago just for the wedding. Then Jerry was stationed on the USS Bell in the South Pacific during World War II, and Estelle moved here to Cleveland to live with Jerry's parents. Jerry returned to Cleveland, and Estelle gave birth to Myron in 1947 and Cheryl in 51. Estelle and Jerry raised their children in their beautiful home in University Heights, which Jerry helped the architects to design. Estelle loved blue. Everything was blue. Blue walls, blue cabinets, blue china. Myron and Cheryl have wonderful memories of fabulous family vacations, traveling on the Super Chief Santa Fe Railroad with the observation car, or flying out to Tucson to visit Uncle Howard, or fishing and hiking at Aunt Florine and Uncle Snapper's cabin in upstate New York, or trips every winter vacation to see their grandparents in Florida. Wonderful memories you will treasure. They always had a dog when they were growing up, one of the toy Manchesters. Estelle volunteered at the Jewish Convalescent Hospital and Mount Sinai as a nurse's aide and Belfair. She participated in many singing groups, Park Sisterhood Singers and Belvoir Mothers Singers. Estelle loved to play mahjong and played twice a week with 2 different groups. Estelle and Jerry had lots of groups of very good friends and enjoyed spending time with. And Estelle and Jerry loved to travel together to Europe many times, to China, Spain, Israel. They enjoyed timeshares in Pennsylvania and South Carolina, and liked to go meet Estelle's Aunt Stella in Chautauqua. Estelle and Jerry went to Jerry's demolition conferences every year. and they had season tickets to the Hannah Theater. Estelle enjoyed watching the shows, and Jerry would fall asleep. Estelle cooked for Jerry every night. Gourmet meals. She was a very good cook. You may remember her lamb chops, prime rib, steaks on the grill, mushroom barley soup, her specialty, duck l'orange, which was a whole day project. Jerry always loved Estelle's cooking, and she set a beautiful table for all the holidays. Estelle liked to eat out at the wagon wheel, and Jerry rented it for Estelle's 50th birthday and threw her a surprise party. Estelle and Jerry adored their grandchildren. They were very generous with all of them. Jeremy, Sean, and Adam will remember going to their grandparents' house for the Jewish holidays, and their grandparents came to watch all their baseball games in the summer. Craig and Linda will remember coming to Cleveland to visit their grandparents and sleeping over at their house, and Estelle and Jerry loved to drive down to Cincinnati for Passover. Once, Craig and Linda were invited for a sleepover on their grandparents' large boat on Lake Erie without their parents. Jerry loved the boat, and Estelle put up with it. Estelle and Jerry gave Myron's family a canoe, and they took that canoe many places, out west and to Kippawa Preserve in northern Canada. One trip they canoed 80 miles together. Estelle and Jerry enjoyed going to all the grandchildren's grandparents' days, whether here or in Cincinnati. And the kids will remember playing upwards with their grandmother. Estelle loved reading and doing crossword puzzles. This kept her mind sharp to the very end. Jerry suffered from dementia for the last 10 years of his life, and Estelle took such good care of him. They had a beautiful marriage and shared 68 and a half wonderful years together. Cheryl spoke to her mother every night. The first thing Estelle would ask was, "Are the kids all okay?" All the grandchildren and great-grandchildren got to see Estelle since the summer when her health began to decline, and Linda was just here in October. Your presence brought her so much joy in her final days. So today may be a time for tears. We're saddened by the loss of Estelle, but we learn much from her, especially how to care for one another. Let these tears serve to strengthen and uphold you as a family. We must be grateful that we were able to share in Estelle's life. Tomorrow there'll be fewer tears, more silence. As the Baal Shem Tov noted, it will be a time for pondering, a time for contemplation. Estelle will become a greater part of our characters and our very beings as we integrate the memories and the values she taught us into our own selves. But finally there'll come a time for song. The time will come when we can celebrate Estelle, when we recall all that we learned from her and how she touched each of our lives. May she rest in peace. Zecher Siracha Libracha. May the memory of Estelle Gerson be a blessing. And let us all say Amen.
Amen.
I'd like to share some words written by Linda, and then we're going to hear from all the grandsons. Linda writes, "From as early as I can remember being able to read, Grandma Estelle used to send me postcards from interesting, exotic, gorgeous places all over the world. I loved getting those. They expanded my perception of the world as a child, changing the world from an inaccessible, irrelevant, foreign out there that only existed in school books and maps into an intriguing list of not yet explored places that beckoned and looked completely different from anything I had yet experienced. They promised beauty, adventures, and diversity that I could scarcely fathom as a young child. As I grew older, I was fortunate to have wonderful opportunities to travel, and the curiosity of her cards and stories nurtured have never faded. And I carried on the habit she inspired for decades. I collected postcards as souvenirs from every place I visited, and I added them to the collection of postcards she sent me. That collection has always brought me happiness. And now I've settled in one of the places where I found my favorite postcards, in Costa Rica. And in conversations with her these past several years, Grandma frequently complimented me on that decision, saying that moving to Costa Rica was a marvelous choice, and I wholeheartedly agree. She would often reminisce about the travel adventures she and Grandpa enjoyed over the years. I would tell her that always hearing her stories and receiving her postcards helped shape my own enthusiasm for exploring and experiencing all the remarkable places our world offers. And so as I'm in beautiful Costa Rica thinking of Grandma Estelle and sending my love to everyone there with her now, I couldn't be more grateful for the enduring spark of adventure and the love of travel that she helped inspire in me. So I'll call on Craig first. You want to come forward to share some words, and then we'll hear from Jeremy, Sean, and Adam together to share some personal words about their grandmother.
Hi everyone, thank you for coming. I'm going to speak quickly because it turns out that my sister and I had the exact same thoughts about the legacy of our grandmother. I share what Linda had said in her paper, that grandma's and grandpa's love of travel left quite a mark on us, both apparently. And it's something we've carried with us, and think of her as we travel. And it's been something that I know we both really value, and she will be missed.
Thank you.
If you asked most people to describe my grandma, I think that the most common answer would be she was one tough lady. I would not disagree with that description. Yes, she had a very tough exterior, but as her grandkids, we were able to see the softer side of Estelle. She absolutely loved her family and was extremely proud of her children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. Grandma always took a great interest in our lives and always encouraged us to follow our dreams and live life to the fullest. As kids, we looked forward to going over Grandma and Grandpa's house every Sunday. First, we'd run straight to the basement with Grandpa and let out all of our energy until we wore him out. Next, we'd head to the kitchen to see what Grandma had in her secret candy cabinet. Finally, we would settle down at the card table with Grandma for 500 rummy, or Grandma's favorite game, Upwards. So many great memories were made in that house, and I will always cherish those great times. And there's so many other great memories. Going to Indians games with Grandma and Grandpa, riding on their boat, going to the movies, having dinner at one of their favorite restaurants, the Lobster Pot. Grandma traveled the world. Her and Grandpa really loved to travel, and she always encouraged us to get out and see the world. They were still taking road trips into their 80s. I'll never forget the time they stopped in Columbus on their way home from a long road trip to visit me in college. Grandma had a great love for music and theater. She sang in the park choir for many, many years. She also played piano. Grandma truly lived life to the fullest with Grandpa G by her side. These past 8 years were very difficult as Grandma's body really began to fail. She was blessed to have my mom by her side every step of the way, and Uncle Myron monitoring every aspect of Grandma's medical care. There's no way she would have fought as hard as she did without you both. But as hard as it is to see someone you love leave their home and struggle with their health, Grandma really made the best of her situation. She lit up every time she was able to see her grandchildren, and especially her great-grandchildren. Whenever she saw her great-grandchildren or talked with them on the phone, that tough exterior started to melt away. Grandma was like a different person, and her softer side emerged. She showed us that it's never too late to change. Grandma faced many challenges in her life: cancer, heart disease, strokes, COVID, a broken leg at 98. But I think the biggest challenge she faced was caring for Grandpa when he was suffering from dementia. It was at this time that I truly realized the love and devotion that these two people had for each other. Grandma and Grandpa were such an amazing couple. They loved each other more than anything, and now they're back together for eternity.
Hi. Growing up, we went to our grandparents.
Growing up, we went to our grandparents every week, literally every week. And when I say growing up, I mean up until Grandpa G moved into assisted living. Looking back, it seems like I did the exact same thing every time I entered their home. A very methodical 4-step plan. Step 1, jump out of the car before anyone could get to the doorbell and bang the chimes as loud and obnoxious as possible. Once the door opened, step 2 was to run directly into the kitchen and raid the candy cabinet. Werther Originals were a must. Step 3, go straight to the basement and wait for Grandpa to play ping pong. Once the sugar and endorphin high was over, Grandma time kicked in. We always ended our evening watching Jeopardy, playing cards, or her favorite, beating everyone in Upwards. As a kid, I never fully appreciated my grandmother's intelligence. She valued education and even into her late 90s years remained sharp as a tack. How many women can say they attended a prestigious university like Wisconsin at a time when very few women attended higher education at all? Grandma loved to travel and passed along all of her amazing books and brochures to me when she found out I was becoming a history teacher. She was always very interested in what I was teaching and probably had a story or brochure for every place I taught. Her and Grandpa G were world travelers. As a goofy kid, I never really understood my grandma. It took until adulthood to not only understand her world, but to also bond with her over a common issue. I'll never forget talking to her about our shared struggle with anxiety. In this moment, I was able to finally see that my grandma was human like everyone else. She was tough, but loved her family. She was set in her ways, but respected and admired the path all of her grandchildren took in life. She was serious, but later in life showed a goofy side with her great-grandchildren and the nurses at Menorah. A complex figure she was, but one that if you got to know, cared deeply for her husband, children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. Watching my mom take care of my grandma for the past 10 years taught me a lot. Family is everything, and you only get one, so appreciate and enjoy every moment you have with them. I'll just be quick at this point, not to get redundant. Our grandma was a really amazing person. She was strong, as you've heard, independent, and smart. She was also your typical Jewish grandma. I never left her house hungry, whether my grandma was cutting me an apple with some laughing cow cheese for a snack, letting me take a few candies, or giving me sorbet before I left. I always left well fed. My mom and I would go over to my grandma and grandpa's at least once a week to play games like Upwards and 500 Rummy and watch Seventh Heaven. Grandma really helped me with my vocabulary because she wouldn't let me cheat and make up words, and she didn't take it easy on us. We spent almost every holiday with our grandparents. Grandma helped to teach us all about the holidays and instill important Jewish values and traditions that we carry on with our families today. I have so many great childhood memories with my grandma, but seeing the joy in her face when she was with her grandchildren will hold a special place in my heart. Grandma may have been one of the most excited family members when she found out Melissa was pregnant, and that is saying a lot. She called almost every week to check in and see how Melissa was doing, offer advice, and tell us all about her memories of being pregnant. When she finally met Luna, you could just see a different kind of happiness in her, something all of her great-grandchildren have made her feel. Even a few weeks ago, when she couldn't talk as much, she was playing with Luna, shaking her hand, and trying to make her smile. Thank you for all of the great memories and values you have given me, Grandma. You can rest easy now that you are back with Grandpa. We love you.
Thank you all for your beautiful words. Birth is beginning and death a destination. For life is a journey, a going, a growing from stage to stage. From childhood to maturity and youth to age. From innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing. From foolishness to discretion and then perhaps to wisdom. From weakness to strength or strength to weakness and often back again. From health to sickness and back we pray to health again. From offense to forgiveness. From loneliness to love. From joy to gratitude. From pain to compassion. And grief to understanding. From fear to faith. From defeat to defeat to defeat. Until looking backward or ahead, we see victory lies not at some high place along the way, but having made the journey, stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning, and death a destination. But life is a journey, The sacred pilgrimage may stage by stage, true life, everlasting. Amen. If you're able, please rise now for El Malay Rachamim.
El Malay Rachamim, Shochayna Bamramim, Hametzemeno Hanechonom, Tachat Kanefei Ashkina, B'mahalot Kedoshim Udhorim, Kezogar Garakia Mazgerim, Et Nishmat Esther bat Avraham v'Pearl, Shegalech le'olama, Began Eden Tehei Menuchata. Anabal Arachamim, Astirei beseter Kanafecha le'olamim. V'titzror b'tzror Chaim et nishmata, Adonai gonechalata, V'tanuag b'shalom al mishkavam, V'nomar Amen.
Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to our beloved Estelle Gerson, known in our tradition as Esther, daughter of Avraham v'Pearl, who has entered eternity. A God of mercy, let her find refuge in your eternal presence, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace, and let us all say,
Amen.
We'll pause for a moment as we lower the coffin. Early or late, all must answer the summons to return to the source of being. If we lose our hold on life when our time has come, as a leaf falls from the bough when its day is done. The deeds of the righteous enrich us all, as the fallen leaf enriches the soil beneath. The dust returns to the earth, but the spirit lives on with God. Like the stars by day, our beloved dead are not seen by mortal eyes, but they shine on forever. Theirs is the eternal peace. Let us be thankful for the companionship that continues in our hearts, in our minds, and with God. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we will remember her. In the blowing of the wind and the chill of winter, we will remember her. In the opening of buds and the rebirth of spring, we remember her. In the rustling of leaves and the beauty of autumn, we will remember her. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we will remember her. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember her. When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember her. So long as we live, she too shall live, for she is now a part of us as we remember her. In just a moment, we will follow the tradition of placing some earth on the coffin as the last act of devotion we can show Estelle. We say the first hands that cover the coffin should be hands of loving family. Three of you go first, and the kids can go.
Sure. We should be the first one.
And grandkids, if you want to come up. In just a moment, we'll join in the Kaddish. Well, to me, it's not very cool.
The other one, yes, Hannah. He teaches
Ask the family to come back over for the Mourner's Kaddish in just a moment.
Oh, he's talking. He's talking.
Just a moment, we'll do the Kaddish. I'm going to ask anyone else can come forward after a place of earth. Myron, come back. Come on over. We'll do the Mourner's Kaddish. Then anyone else can come forward after if you want to do more earth. It's on your cards. Do you have a card? Okay, let's join. Yit gadal v'yit gadash shemei rabbah v'yamad yivrach hirutei v'yamlich machutei v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei l'chol beit Yisrael v'gala uv'izman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mivarach le'olam olamei amaya. Yit barach v'yishtabach v'yit pa'ar v'yit roman v'yit naseh v'yit hadar v'yit alel v'yit halal shemei dekudesha barichu leila min kol birchata v'shirata tush bechata v'nechamata damiran v'yalma v'yimru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. O say shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. May God grant peace to those who mourn and comfort all bereaved among us. Let us all say amen. Lech hi shalach Adonai, go your way, for God has called you. Lech v'nai yamach, go your way and may God be with you. V'halach lefanecha sitecha kavod Adonai yaspecha. May your righteous go before you. May the memory of your life ever be present in the hearts and minds of all those who've known you and loved you. And may the glory of God receive you. And let us all say amen.
Amen.
Amen. This concludes our service.
This concludes our service. We ask that you kindly return back to your cars at this time.
Text you again. We found her in your mother's file, like written in a memory. It was her Hebrew name, all nice and neat. Definitely Esther, and it's